Hey everyone, this is FaZe and welcome to my channel. Are you shopping for an iPad Pro? If so, there are a lot of factors to consider, such as what color to get, what storage size to choose from, whether you want a nano texture coating or not, but none of these, in my opinion, is bigger than to decide on what size you should choose from. You see, Apple offers two sizes, and I've used both sizes quite extensively over the past few years. And while on paper they might not seem that different, in quite practicality, they kind of are. So in today's video, we're gonna go over which iPad Pro size is best for you. So without any further ado, let's begin. So first things first, Apple offers two different sizes, an 11-inch model and a 13-inch model. Whichever one you choose, you're getting the same M4 chip, the same battery life, storage options, RAM, and so on. However, this was not always the case. Prior iPad Pro models were a little differentiated, and it was always the 13-inch model that came with a better display in comparison to the 11-inch one. However, that is no longer the case. Both the 11-inch and 13-inch models boast the same Ultra Retina XDR display with tandem OLED technology. So the world's most advanced display, as Apple likes to call it, is available in both the 11-inch and the 13-inch models. And if you've been subscribed to my channel for a while, then you probably know how much I love the iPad. Heck, I have a whole channel dedicated to iPad and productivity, and it's one of those devices that I use on a daily basis. And in a lot of the videos that I've created when it comes to iPads, a lot of you guys have asked me in the comment section below which size is the best one. And to be honest, there isn't really an easy answer for that, which is exactly why I'm creating a dedicated video to talk about all of that. I've been an iPad Pro user ever since Apple first launched it back in 2015. I've used both the larger and smaller models at different times. Each iPad Pro size has its pros and cons, but in the past few years, choosing the right one has always come down to one simple question. Do you want a tablet or a laptop-like experience? So first, let's talk about the size that I think is perfect for that tablet-like experience and content consumption. I strongly believe that the 11-inch model is the perfect one. It's a perfect size to read books and articles on, browse through social media, and it's big enough to enjoy movies and TV shows. Plus, it's much easier to use with one hand, and you get that true tablet experience. The 13-inch iPad Pro is not bad, however, at times it does feel awkwardly large to use as a tablet. You see, with the 11-inch model, you get a lot more portability, and it's easier to travel with at the same time. However, I do want to mention that with the new M4 model, Apple has thinned the iPad Pro down and reduced its weight quite a bit. So the 13-inch isn't quite as hefty as it once used to, but it's still a relatively large device. When you think of a tablet, the 11-inch model just feels right, whether it's being held in hand, carried around, or just lounging with. The 13-inch always just feels a little uncomfortable when you're trying to just use it as an ordinary tablet. So if you want the best experience when it comes to content consumption and just using it for tablet-like things, I think the 11-inch is definitely the winner. But of course, if you don't mind the larger display, then it's not bad to go for the 13-inch, but I think the 11-inch is definitely the sweet spot. However, iPad Pro and iPadOS have come a long way since 2015, and the iPad Pro, for many people, including myself, has replaced the MacBook. So if you want the best laptop experience, I don't think you're necessarily going to get that with the 11-inch one, because I think the 13-inch one is absolutely perfect to replace your computer with. Do you remember when Apple used to sell the 11.6-inch MacBook Air and a 12-inch MacBook? Well, Apple doesn't really sell those anymore, and clearly Apple doesn't believe that those screen sizes were good for a proper computing experience, which is why if you want the smallest MacBook right now, it starts at 13 inches. And that makes a lot of sense because on a laptop, you usually are doing a lot of multitasking and you're using it for productivity, so that bigger screen size makes a big difference. No wonder Apple doesn't sell a MacBook with a screen size less than 13 inches. It just doesn't feel right. The larger iPad provides significantly more screen real estate than the 11-inch, and that becomes even more noticeable when you're multitasking. On the 11-inch model, yes, you can have multiple apps side by side, but everything just feels very cramped. And when you do have those apps side by side, you're more often limited to iPhone version of the apps than rather the iPad ones. With the 13-inch Pro, when you have two apps side by side, they are still standard iPad-sized apps. And even when you work in Stage Manager, Split View, or Slide Over, you still have a lot of space that is given to each app. And if you want the true Safari web browsing experience, 13-inch is the way to go, especially when you have two apps side by side. So if you're having Safari and let's say Notes, you still get the full Safari experience. But when you go for the 11-inch one, it's more of a blown up iPhone version of Safari. Now, if you're new to my channel, you might be wondering which iPad Pro I own, and I am very happy to say that it's the 13-inch one. I absolutely love it because I use this as a Mac replacement. And I'm so glad I went for the 13-inch model because I feel like that experience is heightened with this larger display. When I'm doing work or editing, my iPad Pro usually is in Apple's Magic Keyboard, which by the way has gotten drastically better with the M4 model. Even the Magic Keyboard itself is a lot thinner and lighter along with other enhancements. However, when I'm not in my productivity mode where I'm typing things or I'm editing videos, I like to just take my iPad Pro out of its Magic Keyboard and just use it as a tablet, and it still gives you a great tablet experience. I just put on this nice folio cover from ESR and just use the iPad Pro as a tablet because this 13-inch iPad Pro is Apple's thinnest product ever, and it's quite lighter as well with the new M4 one. So it's thinner, it's lighter, so even though the display is big, it still feels okay to use as a tablet. But like I said, if you still want the best tablet experience, go for the 11-inch one. But if you want something that's kind of like a 2-in-1, then I think the 13-inch one is something you're really going to enjoy. Now before, when I really used my MacBook, I would then prefer the 11-inch iPad Pro to be my main tablet of choice because I feel like the smaller iPad models are great complementary devices to the Mac. But for the best computing experience, 13-inch all the way. And technically, yes, you can get the Magic Keyboard for the 11-inch iPad Pro as well and get some serious work done on it. But you don't get a full-size keyboard like you do on the 13-inch one. So that is one thing you need to know, that the keys are a little cramped and it's not a full-size keyboard. And what I recommend is just go to the Apple Store, type a little on the 11-inch Magic Keyboard and compare it to the 13-inch one. You're gonna notice a difference. But at the end of the day, it really comes down to your usage and your preference. I strictly believe that if you want the best tablet experience and you're traveling a lot and you already have a Mac for all your computing needs, then the 11-inch one is probably the one to go for. But if you're trying to use this as your main computer like I have, I think the 13-inch screen is beautiful. It's absolutely amazing to do work on it. And especially, like I said, when you have multiple apps open and you're using Stage Manager, nothing feels cramped. Everything just feels much better on this display for productivity reasons. So if that is something that you're going to be doing a lot of on the iPad Pro, go for the 13-inch one. But if it's just the tablet experience, go for the 11-inch. But at the end of the day, I want to know your thoughts. Which iPad Pro size do you own, or which one are you trying to go for? Whatever your thoughts are, whatever your questions are, leave them down in the comment section below. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already done so, and I'll see you next time.